Good evening, Lions Nation, and welcome to the first in-season edition of RoarTime for 2019 with head coach, director of football operations, Jason Gibson, and your humble host, Rick Jacobson. This is a fantastic year coming up for the Columbus Lions, year number 13. And Coach Gibson, start of training camp is underway. Your days, long nights.
Nice tie.
Well, thanks very much.
I like it.
I wish I had gone casual like you.
Yeah, well, long days and long nights, like kind of you mentioned. You know, I didn't really have time to get ready. So yeah, it's up at 6, home at 9 at night, and they're long days. But that's okay. It's what you work for. It's a great job. It's a great life.
I'd have to say we're all styling in these beautiful new shirts you've gotten from sponsor Cintas.
Oh yeah, Cintas, Ben Russell, they hook us up, all our staff. So it's been a good year all the way around, and got to take care of your employees. And Deion Sanders said it best: if you look good, you play good. So.
Well, this is perhaps the nicest of all the shirts we've had over the years.
And that's the wrap. That's the show. Everything's over. Good stuff.
There we go. Well, everybody, it's interesting that training camp happens in professional arena and indoor football at a time of year that Super Bowl's wrapped up, the NFL's preparing for draft, college football, spring football. We go a little bit head-to-head with that sometimes with Auburn's A-Day game and so forth. But tell us a little bit about how you map out training camp, what you're looking for, and what happens the next couple of weeks.
It's different. Everybody does things different. The league says that you cannot report till 21 days before your first game. So the first thing I do is I look at our first game, look at the date. It's April 13th against Orlando, and you just count back 21 days and you identify, okay, that's the report date. Then once you get that set up, I do things a little different. I don't bring all 35 players in at one time. I actually do a 4 to 5 day mini camp with just receivers and quarterbacks and defensive backs. I think it's I can bring them in, I can get a good feel for who they are. We can spend a little more time focusing on that. And then I bring the big guys in a week later. Also, it saves their legs. You got guys that are, I'm looking at the roster, you got guys that are 6'6", 380 pounds. They don't need to be running around that much because of the length of the season. So it's almost a self-preservation for me. I don't need to have a 3-week training camp to start the season and then all of a sudden have a 14-week season and then 2-week playoff and plus a bye week. It's a lot of time.
Just for the average layman, how would you run the kinds of drills that don't require linemen?
Oh, just basic. When you talk about receiver DBs, we come in. We do a ton of individual work with them, teaching them the game, teaching them routes. So it's kind of like putting together. Now imagine putting together a puzzle. And most people, what I would think when you put together a puzzle, you get the corner pieces first, because without the corner pieces, nobody starts right in the middle, because then you can never figure it out. So think of the receivers and DBs as the corner pieces that we put in, and we bring them into camp, and we start filling it in from there. And then the meat of the puzzle, which is everything, is the big boys. So I try to get the frame done, and that's how I look at it. And we do a lot of one-on-one drills, a lot of individual route running, and it's a lot of timing. Arena football is about timing, and that's our main focus right now.
Kind of reminds me of the way baseball spring training, the catchers always
right.
report first, position players a week later, and it's interesting that we're right at that time of year where that's happening as well. With the Lions, as you come to training camp, now you've had some transition,
right.
Not only from last year to this year, but within the offseason. You mentioned one change that recently happened because there are other leagues playing football this time of year.
Right.
Folks who watch the Alliance of American Football right now. What kind of impact has that had on the National Arena League?
The Alliance hasn't had a big impact, really. There's not a lot of players that I've seen on transactions that come through. I mean, we've got Trent Thompson. He's with the Arizona Hot Shots. That's the only player that we don't have, as far as for the Alliance. Now, some of the other teams may have a couple more here or there. It hasn't been a big effect. Plus, that season's going to be over with in 3-4 weeks. And then those guys are going to want to continue to keep playing, and they're just going to pick up and jump to the Arena League and start playing football.
Thornton, one of your recent acquisitions, did he not come from the San Diego
Yeah, he did. Tyler Thornton, who we signed to DB with the Edmonton Eskimos, he came in from the San Diego Fleet. We're about to pick up another player from the Birmingham Iron that people will be familiar with, but I can't really announce it till we ink it. And So, I mean, but there's so many football players out there. There's so many people. You know, we got a lot of rookies on our roster that are unbelievably gifted. They just don't know the game. And it's like credit. How do you get credit if you've never had credit? At some point, somebody has to take a chance. So I've always prided ourselves in finding players and bringing in good players. I don't need to have, 22 vets on the team, and we'll see how it works out. But I'm pretty confident in our staff and myself.
How have the players that you signed in the preseason tryouts acquitted themselves?
I mean, they're doing well. Obviously, they're not veterans. It is a time thing. You think about, when I call a player, I'm trying to coach something, sometimes you get a little frustrated because you see it for me, but I've been doing it for 25 years. So you've seen so many scenarios. You've got guys that have been in camp that have, this is only their third day they've ever been on an arena field. And then you expect them to just know it. Sometimes you have to step back and realize that they're rookies and they're learning. But from a talent standpoint, they're all gifted. They can play.
Before we go to our first commercial break, I did want to ask you a question about what methods and techniques and strategy do you and your coaching staff use to convert a player who's never played the indoor game to the half-size field and the different rules?
A lot of film. Just educating them about arena football. The first thing we did first day is I went through the rule book. It sounds mundane, it sounds kind of petty, but we literally, I broke open the rule book and we went through it and I explained all the rules. An educated player in arena who understands the rules can learn some nuances and learn some techniques that can set you above the other person. That's what being a veteran is with any business, whether it's football or banking or being a teacher. You learn tricks of the trade that can set you apart, and so that's pretty much what we've done so far.
And I've often wondered how these players make these great leaping, diving catches with knowledge of where the inner walls are, something you don't have outdoor. There are some guys who get very good at it very quickly, but like you say, this takes time. And speaking of time, let's take a moment to have our first commercial break in the show. We're going to come back, talk about position battles, Lions in the community, some other features that we're adding this year to RoarTime. Join us right after this commercial break, please.
At Rivertown Buick GMC, we're proud to support the Columbus Lions, our hometown team, and we support you with our low price promise. We'll meet or beat any dealership's price, or you get $1,000. Plus, Rivertown Buick GMC always has your back with the right way guarantee, featuring limited lifetime powertrain protection. And of course, we always give you a deal to roar about. Only at Rivertown Buick GMC.
Thanks, Dr. J. My back feels so much better. Now tell me where I can go for my headaches.
Really? You don't need to go anywhere else. That's what we do.
Well, what about my shoulder?
That's what we do.
Pinched nerve?
That's what we do.
Well, what about disc problems?
That's what we do.
Sciatica?
With almost 500,000 patient visits over the last 34 years, don't just take my word for it. Ask a friend.
Call Dr. J. Broadwin and Associates today.
Welcome to the Columbus campus of Georgia Military College. At GMC Columbus, students participate in community events, community service, and student activities. Join the excitement at GMC Columbus, a college for its community. Apply today at gmc.edu.
Welcome, Lions Nation viewers, CTV viewers, back from our first commercial break. We are with head coach Jason Gibson. I'm Rick Jacobson, your host of 2019. Getting back to training camp battles, I think the first thing people are going to want to ask, since our great friend and big productive quarterback Mason Espinosa from the past 2 seasons has gotten a great offer in a higher league, tell us how, if you've heard from him yet, and also who's succeeding him here this season.
First of all, it's good. Basically, let's clarify something. It's not a higher league. It's just a league that pays more money. So, when you look at it, they're playing with the exact same players that we have. So it's not a higher league. They pay higher money and lose more money. So, but for him, he got a chance. They threw a bunch of money at him. He's got to take it. I don't blame him. So that's good for him. But as far as going back to our quarterback battle, We got Mitch Kidd here. You got Luke Collis. Luke's a vet. Mitch is a rookie. It goes back to talking about he's been here for 3 days. I've already seen progress in Mitch in 3 days, where he's starting like, oh wow, okay, I see what you're talking about. Okay, Luke's a vet. Played in Philly, backed up Rudabah, and played for Clinton Donzel. Played AFL China. Played for Tampa Bay Storm. Has won a couple championships in different leagues. So you got that veteran, you got that rookie. They work well together. We have good meetings. Right now, just flip a coin. I couldn't give you an answer today, but it looks good.
Interesting that you mentioned the Arena Football League, been around 35 years, and here it is in year 3 of the National Arena League. We've caught them, as you say, in level of talent. Has it been a question of talent at our level continuing to advance every year, or has there been a drop-off at the big league level?
To be honest with you, me, being sarcastic that I am, we're basically doing all the recruiting for them. I mean, so there's almost 50-something players from the NAL roster last year that are signed with AFL teams. And, that's good for the players, but it's just, if you take a player who played in the NAL last year and you paid him $5 a game, and then all of a sudden next year he goes to the AFL and the AFL is paying him $20 a game, is he all of a sudden a better player? It's the same player. You're just dumb enough to pay him more money for the same person I paid $5 for.
So how does a Luke Collis, for example, become available to you?
I don't know.
With that wide range of experience? How do you find him?
Luke called me and reached out to me, but it's hard to find quarterbacks, and there's some quarterbacks that are playing AFL right now that you're shaking your head like, wow. But Luke's a good player. We're just lucky to have him. Fortunate for him to be here.
How would you rate Luke's strengths and Mitch Kidd's strengths?
Mitch is a young guy, very knowledgeable of the game. He can throw the ball downfield pretty well, gets it, works hard. Those are the kinds of guys. He's a true quarterback. Some quarterbacks have the it factor. He's just he's a quarterback, when you look for a quarterback. And Luke's been around long enough and played enough games that he understands concepts that he can help teach receivers plays. I can't coach everything all the time. And to be able to have that second voice on the field with him is huge. He understands it and gets it, and has pretty much seen a lot of things that we're already going to see, so that's huge going into the first game.
You spoke at the preseason show of a flock of very, very talented receivers. How's that coming together, and how many would you say you've got to choose from?
We've got 6, and every day I flip-flop on who's staying because they're all good. And it's going to be a hard decision for me because I think they all can play. They all have a different skill set, and they can fly. The fastest overall group of receivers I've ever had.
Can you name them one by one for everybody?
Yeah, Paris Mack, Sean Mitchell, Javon Floyd, Bones Bagante, the one true vet, Chris Sanders McCullum, Desmond Reese out of Valley, local kid. He can fly. I played at Tuskegee. Those kids can fly. They can play. And I'm excited. Now it's just a matter of making sure that I can figure out a way to put them in the proper position so they can show and do what they do.
Will you expect, even after the season starts, to perhaps keep an extra one on the reserve squad?
You have to at the receiver and DB because of the running. There's so much running involved. They're the highest ones at risk. Even from a practice standpoint, as much running as they do in a week, I have to it's almost like a pitch count. For a pitcher, you have to make sure that you're not overexerting them, running them too much. It's not about conditioning. It's just about dead legs, especially in training camp. I only have 2 groups of 3, which I did on purpose. I didn't want to have 10, 12 receivers in here and nobody gets a rep and you get no continuity. So I like all of them. It's just a matter of trying to figure out which one's going to be best for the Lions.
And offensive line, of course, to protect these 2 solid quarterbacks. How's that coming together? You mentioned perhaps a tough loss as we came on the air.
Yeah, you lose one, you pick one up. Sometimes you go a step backwards and you wind up going 2 forward and you don't even realize. We lose Nate Isles, huge loss. Nate goes to another team, paying him more money. So that's good for Nate. He needs it. But then we pick up Andre Walker, who's a 4-year starter out of Southern Cal. He played for the Dolphins. So, hey, no harm, no foul, right? So it feel pretty good. And then, of course, you got A.J. Harmon and second team all NAL Ronnie Burrow. And then you pick up, we picked up Manny. I can't pronounce Manny's name. And where are you at, Manny? Gunley. Manny Gunley, I think that's right. Manny's 6'10", 420.
That is about as big as it gets.
Biggest person I've ever already seen, so I'm curious to see him get down here. And we got Austin Hester, local kid, played at Shaw, Georgia Military, which I like too. So from an offensive standpoint, I think it may be, well, we've always had good offensive lines here. I mean, you think of the Brandon Halls, Brandon Thomas, Deion Smalls, Pat Langs, Doug Smith, Aaron Wheeler. I mean, the list goes on. We've always had great linemen here, and this is just going to continue.
That's terrific. We've kind of covered the offensive side. Let's flip around because
Sure.
you put together a priority of many SEC players, quite a few of them well known, that gave you one of your strong, big defensive lines. In fact, with the linebackers and the D-back, the whole defense looked very strong in the offseason.
I mean, it does on paper. From a DB standpoint, of course, you know, you've got Shadow Finnig and Marte Maddox, who are veterans. Marte played at South Carolina. Shadow played at Georgia. You pick up a Rico Johnson, who played at Georgia. We picked up Tyreek Abel, DeMario Donnell, who's a veteran from another league, so he gets it. Rayford Mickles. Rayford Mickles is kind of cool. Rayford was a tryout phenom. I mean, he just really tore up a tryout. It's rarely that you bring a guy in from a tryout like that and put him in camp, and Ray did. So I thought Ray did a good job too. And you couple from a defensive back standpoint, but I think our D-line is going to be our strength. When you look at, you know, Greg Hall, Braden Jasper, LaMichael Fanning out of Alabama, JT Surratt out of USC, the other USC, South Carolina. Don't get me going. Then you get Ken Washington back, who's a vet, who gets to come back this year. You're at, you know, you got a bunch of talent on the defensive line that I'm probably going to carry more D linemen than ever. And then I just made a huge signing that we'll announce later in the week from a big-time player, another SEC player that we'll keep. And then we got Trent Thompson, who's sitting on the you know, exempt list because the AAF. And if Trent comes back, it's over.
You know, it seems to me that this might be the single biggest transition in player personnel from one year to the next. Do you feel that way, or is part of it just the fact that some injured players last year are returning?
Well, you know, you looked at the roster last year, we had 11 guys on IR, 11 starters. There's only 21 guys on the team. And you look at who they are. Tristan Purefoy, top receiver in the league. Mason Espinoza, NAL Player of the Year, MVP. You know, Fortson goes down with a knee. Greg Hall's leading the league in sacks. He's out.
Marte Sears and Ken Washington.
Marte Sears, the best jack in the league. Everybody knows that. Out. Ken Washington, huge vet, defensive end. Out. You know, Deron Neal gets hurt. Out. Nate Isles, one of the best tackles in the league, busts his ankle. Misses the last 4 or 5 games. He's out. I mean, the list just kept getting. Quavon Hicks, Rookie of the Year, out, you know, with injuries. He only played probably half the games. And I look back and I think, how did we even survive to get to where we got to? I mean, we limped into the playoffs, and we got lucky in Massachusetts because they were just as beat up as we were. You know, I mean, their quarterback was out. They had a bunch of guys hurt. And so, we slipped by them. You go in the championship game, and I think you just ran out of gas. You ran into a team that's at full strength, and that was rocking into, we just ran out of gas, and with no players. And so then going into this season, the turnover was based upon a direction I wanted to go with the team. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, and I'll take the consequences that come with it, but we're going to do it the Lions way. We're not going to do it.
Before we switch topics and recognize some of our CTV Beam RoarTime sponsors, I want to ask you how the kicking situation is coming together for you.
We've got 3 kickers. I've signed Derek Vaca, obviously. I'm looking to maybe bring into camp Jed Solomon, who's a great kicker, and then Blake Erickson out of Tallahassee, who kicks in some IFO leagues. All 3 of them are going to compete. You know, we'll get to the arena this week, luckily, and be inside on the turf with the field goal posts up, and I'll let those 3 guys compete with some shoulder pads and helmets on and get after it. So I'm excited about our kicking game. That's one thing that I haven't even thought twice about because I know they're going to be pretty good.
In camp, just curious because we have camp at Garrett Harrison Stadium, mostly in Phoenix City, regular outdoor goalposts. Can your kickers work the way you want them to without?
Yeah, because what you do is you have them line up and they have to hit the goalpost. That, or you have them line up and have to make it between the actual middle post that holds up the goalpost and one of the uprights. If you do that, that cuts it down to what a regular arena field goal would look like. So they can still get some work in, but that's why I didn't have them come in with the DBs and receivers, because we're outside. It's kind of a waste.
A lot of ground to cover here. Let's recognize a few of our sponsors here, take a short break, and then we're going to talk some more about what the Lions are doing in the community, preview the week to come or so, and leading up to opening night in Orlando, Florida, and the home opener on Friday, April 19th. Coach, we've got a list of nearly 20 sponsors on the show this year. I just want to mention them, a brief comment from you on your clients, and we want to thank these folks for making RoarTime possible, as well as our live home game telecasts, capably produced by Toy Guard and the staff at CTV Beam here in Phoenix City, Alabama. First, Allstate Insurance, Sean McGarry, sponsors of the Good Hands Catch of the Game. We've got this year, B&B Beverage, the Budweiser distributor, is a major sponsor. Anything you'd like to say on their behalf?
No, it's got a Bud Light Party Zone. We'll preview it next Thursday night. When fans pull in, they get a chance to actually help promote Bud and Bud Light. And we've got to thank those guys for coming on board, being a good sponsor and supporting our local sports.
Dr. Jay Broadwin and Associates, your chiropractor for all 13 years?
In all 13 years, Dr. J's always got your back. Two locations, Edgewood Drive up there in the CSU, and also Victory Drive Military Chiropractic down there going towards Fort Benning.
New sponsor for 2019, Cheetah Bail Bonds.
Yeah, Cheetah Bail Bonds is great. Hopefully I won't have to use her, but if you need a bail bond, make sure you reach out to Cheetah Bail Bonds. She does a great job, first class, and she knows what she's doing.
How about your good sponsor, Cindy Dunning of Collision Surgeons of Columbus?
Hey, it's the hit of the week, man.
The hit of the week, the big hit of the week, collision of the game. I'd like to thank Georgia Military College and Director Holly Arnold. Georgia Military College is one of our commercial sponsors all year long on the telecasts and on RoarTime. Golden Corral. Boy, we've been eating good for probably
Long
10
time.
years now. John Gilbert, General Manager at Golden Corral on Manchester Expressway, is our incredibly good friend. We do some charity work together. He, of course, feeds all the veterans every year for free on, on Veterans Day, and we team up with the JROTC in the area to serve folks. Lines are out the door for hours. Jordan's Girls, Gourmet Dogs, 8th and Veterans. I gotta have me a Jordan's Girl every so often, as do you. We enjoy having them as a RoarTime sponsor. Their neighbor up the road, few blocks, Midas of Columbus on 13th Street and Veterans. We have got a great relationship with Charlie Sutton and Tony Serafini. They're also on Manchester Expressway. Midas of Columbus, sponsor of the touchdowns with the Midas Touch. Motors Acceptance Corp., our good friend Scott Richardson is a sponsor again in 2019, and that's I've actually momentarily forgotten the 1-800-NEW-RATE. How could I?
That's an easy one.
Yes, it is, but I had a momentary breakdown. How about you and Josh Blair, our partner, work closely with Rivertown GMC. You want to tell folks what they're doing opening night?
Opening night, you make sure if you're at the game in attendance, you can go to the fan booth, or you can also go to our website and you can register for a chance to be drawn to win a truck from Rivertown Buick GMC. Stacy and Mike Holland down there, they have great deals. And I'm telling you, I'm going to get that GMC Sierra. It's coming. I just need a pay raise from the ownership, and then I will buy that new truck from those guys. Great place, but you're going to give away a truck on opening games, so make sure you're in attendance to register at the fan booth.
Because you have an incredibly busy day, I'm consolidating all these sponsor welcomes right now, so we just got 3 or 4 more, and then we'll move forward with the show. My good friend Frank Winship of Sprague Supply, sponsoring the catch of the game. Sprague Supply is the Napa Auto Parts distributor in Columbus, Phoenix City, and Auburn, and have 3 stores that they're basically known for over $400,000 of high-quality parts and the best personal service you can get anywhere. We're very proud to be affiliated with Sprague Supply here in Phoenix City for what must be the 7th or 8th straight year. Supercharged, once again, the energy drink of the Columbus Lions, and they're going to have a role in our business after hours at Phoenix City here Thursday evening, the 28th. Texas Roadhouse, home of the fall off the bone ribs, and the margaritas. What's the exact term that's used here? Sorry, it's not legendary margaritas, ice cold beer, and hearty hand-cut steaks at Texas Roadhouse, North Lake Parkway. The Overby Company in Shredaway, with us for many, many years, taking care of our printers and copiers at our Golden Park offices and elsewhere. Can't do without Mark Overby and the great folks, the service staff we have at the Overby Company and their sister company, Shredaway. And finally, Military Appreciation Night sponsor, USAA. Good clients of yours and great folks treating soldiers to Lions football for years and years. So thank you, 20 sponsors of Roar Time and game telecasts. A quick break for us while we recharge, and we're going to go into some more Lions football on Roar Time in just a moment.
Every day, men and women from communities across this nation serve as Reserve Citizen Airmen.
I am proud to defend our nation.
Proud to be part of a team that helps make a difference.
I am proud to be part of something larger than me and to serve my country.
We celebrate those who have served and those who are proudly serving in the Air Force Reserve. Our mission is to fly, fight, and win in air, space, and cyberspace.
I am proud to be a member. I am proud to protect.
Proud to serve in the U.S. Air Force Reserve.
Hi, I'm Charles.
And I'm Tony with Midas here in Columbus, Georgia.
Did you know that 84,000 people in the Chattahoochee Valley go hungry every day? So we've partnered with Feeding the Valley Food Bank here in Columbus, Georgia. Every oil change feeds up to 5 people, or you can drop off food donations at either one of our locations. Together we can drive out hunger.
Come visit us at either one of our Columbus locations. We're located at 315 13th Street or 1631 Manchester Expressway.
USAA gives me the peace of mind and the security just like the Marines did. At one point I did change to a different company with car insurance and I was not happy with the customer service. We have switched back over and we feel like we're back home now. We're the Williams family and we're USAA members for life.
Welcome back to the year's first preseason edition of Roar Time here on CTV, Lions Nation. Thank you, as always, for tuning in to see head coach Jason Gibson talk about Lions football. I'm your host, Rick Jacobson, and as we move forward, Coach, I think it's time to tell people a little bit about, especially those who may not have caught our first edition a month ago, tell them a little bit about the National Arena League, the addition of the 2 great markets we have in our league, and the fact that we get to start the season at one of them.
Well, Orlando and New York City streets, which I like. I mean, I got a chance to meet Corey. He's a great owner. He gets it. He's doing what's best for this league. I love the name Streets. I'm not even from New York, but I understand the concept, what they're going with. Just great organization. They're going to have a really good team. And, of course, Orlando Predators. I mean, I think they're the Dallas Cowboys of arena football. I mean, when you think of the name and you know, Orlando and what they represent, especially me growing up as a player and as an old coach. So, and we get to open up in Orlando, their first game back after folding from the AFL for budgetary reasons. So it'll be nice to be able to get them in our league, and Kenny McIntyre, man, wow, he's on it. You know, it's really great for me to watch a former great player. Kenny was a great player, obviously. The transition from a player to front office and to see the tenacity that he has now taken from a business sense and to get that organization to where it's at. It's fun to watch. I'm excited to be a part of it. I'm excited they're part of the National Arena League. You know, it's nice to get to know Kenny. You've known him very well for years. Was he not one of the all-time interception leaders in the sport? Yeah, he is. He's up there. He's the all-time interception leader behind Columbus Lions' Damian Daniels. So, but yeah, what a great guy. And he gets it. He gets the business aspect of it. And it's just the NAL is really starting to get some legs, and I'm excited to be part of it. It's going to be the toughest year we've ever been a part of. We had an opportunity to go up to New York City and, as you say, spend a day or two with Corey Galloway and his New York streets. I'm very impressed. The streets thing is kind of interesting for a guy like myself who's from the general area. It makes me think of Taxi Driver and Robert De Niro and the fact that you hear about the mean streets of New York back in the 70s and 80s. Well, nobody knows about Robert De Niro and Taxi. Yeah. I thought you were going to say Taxi with, what's that guy, the comedian? No. Judd Hirsch. No. Now I'm really reaching back, right? Yeah, Danny DeVito and all. But, okay. But I remember the movie Mean Streets. Like Taxi Driver, it was a Martin Scorsese film, and that's maybe where my reference comes from. Okay. But let's not, New York and Orlando, fabulous additions to the league. How about the returning franchises in Jacksonville, Massachusetts, and of course Carolina, Greensboro? Yeah, I mean, just it's great to have all those teams back. Good teams, good organizations.
Do you hear in the preseason anything interesting about the relative strength of the teams, or is it just a crapshoot? See what happens opening day.
Well, I mean, everybody shuffles rosters and shuffles around. You watch transactions. It's all irrelevant. I mean, it's all irrelevant until you get into the playoffs, to be honest with you. I mean, we jumped out last year at 8-2 when we were in first place, and then you lose 5 in a row. So right now, it doesn't really matter. But I mean, it does matter, but it doesn't. The first couple of weeks, you're all kind of feeling yourselves, kind of feeling out who everybody is, and you got to learn the coaches because we have no film on New York, we have no film on Orlando, so I have no idea what they're going to do, what they're going to run. They have film on us, and so it's something you just got to fight through. So, but just great organizations all the way through. I could play with the same 6 teams for the next 10 years. I think it'd be ideal, but we'll see how it goes, and of course, we'll see how it goes.
New York and Orlando expansion teams. Are their coaches new to the game or are they experienced?
Unfortunately, I couldn't tell you. I don't have an answer.
Well, we as we prepare for opening day again. Saturday, April 13th, we're in Orlando, Florida at the Amway Center. And then we speak of the New York team. Of course, they're going to play home games in both Madison Square Garden and in the Westchester Civic Center in White Plains.
Right.
Will it make any kind of difference to you at all being in a big arena such as the Amway Center in Orlando, where the NBA Orlando Magic plays?
No, I mean, Greensboro's just as big, so is Jacksonville. The field's the same size, which is a good thing. The size of the seats doesn't matter. No, I mean, maybe for some of the players, but it's a good environment for our fans. It's a good environment for Orlando's fans and the players, and I'm excited, but it won't change anything. It's not going to change the way we call plays. I mean, it feels the same. So.
And as the league moves forward, perhaps we'll be in 7th and 8th, maybe 9th and 10th cities next year.
Yeah, maybe.
The league is that growth-minded. Let's talk a little bit about some things that the players are doing in the community as we approach the start of the season. I heard you talk last show a little bit about Read Across America. Could you explain to folks exactly how that works and why and how you might have gotten the team involved in that?
Every year, Read Across America, I think it's Dr. Seuss Day. I mean, we get a lot of calls from a lot of schools. We went to a lot of schools. I can't remember the names of them all. I think we did 3 schools in one day. You go there, you read Dr. Seuss books, which is difficult, but it's fun. You get to hang out with the kids. So we did that on Read Across America Day. We're starting a new program, Lunch with the Lions, at one of the elementary schools over in Columbus, where we just come in during lunchtime and hang out with the kids and eat lunch and just be role models and talk about Fortnite and PlayStation and sports and what's on ESPN and things like that. And we just go in there and hang out and eat and go home.
Had several Lions players were teachers, parapros in the school system.
We've got some guys in the school system. We're doing that. We're going to our annual ticket party with Spring Harbor, which is the retirement home over there on River Road. I love those guys and girls over there, so we got to do that.
Still doing the fashion show over there for the elderly
I still
ladies?
do the fashion show in February, and it's in October. It's in the off season, so we still do that. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of requests going on, a lot of fundraisers going on, a lot of programs we're working with Smith Station Youth Soccer and Harris County Youth Football and Calvary Christian School, and of course yours with Central High School Red Devils. And so there's a lot of things going on, and you try to compartmentalize and put all this stuff together and run a football team, run a business, run fundraisers, run community events. It's a lot. It's a lot, but it's satisfying, and it's why the Lions are here. It's why I respect our ownership so much, because as much as they've written checks, it's they always look at the back end as their way to get back to community, and they use the Lions as that vehicle, and I appreciate it.
One of the nice things I was able to be involved in, a great longtime sponsor of ours is IHOP Restaurants. And every year on National Pancake Day, we're invited to come by the stores and with the players help raise some money for the Children's Miracle Network. And our players and some of the Lady Lions were able to cover 4 restaurants in the same hour. And that was some work, but we got it done and very enthusiastically collected money from the customers that all went to benefit Children's Miracle Network while they were getting free pancakes donated by IHOP Restaurants. So thank you, Maria Taylor and Ann Swentowski, for your help there. Well, folks, we're getting toward the end of the program. Just want to spend a second throwing out an arena football lingo and rules segment here. We don't have any game to show our plays of the week just yet. That's coming, of course. But I thought maybe we'd once again review. Well, actually, I want to get your opinion on something that arena football is played at one level originally with the rebound nets. We don't have them in our league. What are your thoughts about the kickoffs that would bounce off the nets coming back versus the way we do it without netting?
I get it. It's exciting both ways. I love the deuce. I think it's one of the most exciting things in our game. But when you look at the rebound nets, let's just take a page out of the NFL. Look at all the measures the NFL's doing to prevent injuries. Okay? And to be honest with you, having been a player and done that, I do not want to stand there looking at a net, catching a ball with my back turned with 8 dudes running down getting ready to hit me. And it's a liability. I think you got to make the game safer. You got bigger, stronger, faster players in a small amount of space. And I think having the nets up, for me, one, it's a money thing. 2, it gets in the vision of the fans in the seats. And I think I like the deuce better. I'll pass on the nets.
It always seemed to me to be quite dangerous to have a guy grabbing the ball off the net, turning and running. And as you say, safety is a major component today. The deuce is a 2-point kickoff from the 5-yard, or rather from the goal line.
Right.
And as you mentioned last show, it turns games around in our favor
changes the
sometimes.
Games. And thank out to Sam out there at Popeyes, because if you make a deuce, you get that famous apple pie from Popeyes, and I love it. So it's a great promotion we run this year. We run it every year, and I can't wait to go out there. Their staff's great, but the deuce is one of the funnest things in the arena. And every time somebody goes to kick off, you see everybody holding up 2 fingers, and it's pretty good.
One of my favorite HBO shows too, called The Deuce. By the way, another aside. But as we weaken here and get towards the end of the show here, all the references get more and more obscure. Coach Gibson has a very, very busy day today. We're not even halfway through training camp right now, so we're going to wrap it up for this first edition of Roar Time. Folks, thank you for watching, both live on, or I should say taped, but the original telecast on CTV Beam, a few follow-up rebroadcasts, and of course comes over to the Lions website, CTV's website for rebroadcast, and then eventually YouTube. So we will, of course, on Friday, April 19th, open at 7 o'clock at the Columbus Civic Center. Is there anything you're doing at this point to gear towards that, or would you say everything's geared toward that right now?
Everything's geared toward that. I mean, that's so far away. I'm just trying to get through today. But you just, how do you eat a big elephant? You one bite at a time. You just got to keep going at it and get after it. And so, before we get out of here, I'll make sure we say something out to Roger Campbell, longtime season ticket holder. Thoughts and prayers out to his families and his wife and everybody. Roger was a long-time season ticket holder. He helped me with youth football, helped me get it off the ground a long time ago. And there's a lot of kids right now that have come through, even through Glenwood, that have come through that are in college right now. Hey, I remember playing that youth football league, and Roger helped out with that. He used to officiate with it. He passed away this month, and so wish prayers and stuff out to you, and I appreciate it, Roger.
Okay, I personally did not know Roger. I could understand the closeness you'd have in that situation. And many Lions fans have been with us a long, long time because we do stretch back to 2007. We thank all of you for your support. Again, appreciate your watching our first edition in season here. We'll be a weekly a show now right through August of the playoffs. Thanks for watching Roar Time. We'll see you next Thursday night at 7:30.